If you're flying in 2025, pay close attention, because these travel changes could leave you stranded, cost you hundreds, or even ruin your trip. From new visa rules that could get you turned away, to hidden airline fees that will cost you hundreds, and a strict new ID law that could stop you from boarding. But don't panic. I'll break down everything you need to know so you can travel stress-free. Let's get started. Number 1. If you're traveling to Europe, you'll now need pre-approval before you go. Starting mid-2025, travelers from over 60 countries, including the US, Canada, and Australia, will be required to apply for ETIAS before entering most European countries. ETIAS isn't a visa, but without it, you won't be allowed in. The process is entirely online and usually takes just a few minutes. You'll pay a $7 fee, and once approved, your ETIAS will be valid for 3 years, as long as your passport doesn't expire first. But here's where things get tricky. If your passport expires before your ETIAS does, you'll need to reapply. So if you have plans to visit France, Spain, or Italy in 2025, make sure you take care of this ahead of time. Number 2. If you're flying to the UK, you might need extra approval before boarding. The UK is rolling out its electronic travel authorization system, similar to the US ESTA and Europe's ETIAS. This means that, starting in 2025, travelers from countries like the US, Canada, and Australia will no longer be able to just land in the UK without prior approval. Instead, you'll need to apply online, pay a small fee, and wait for approval, which usually happens within a few minutes to a few days. And here's where travelers might slip up. The ETA is linked directly to your passport, so if your passport expires, your ETA does too, even if it's still valid. This small detail could catch a lot of travelers off guard, so be sure to check your documents before your trip. Number 3. If you're flying within the US, your ID might no longer be valid for air travel. Starting May 7th, 2025, your regular driver's license won't be enough to board a domestic flight. Instead, you'll need a real ID-compliant license or another approved form of identification, like a passport or military ID. The issue? Millions of Americans still don't have a real ID. And if you wait too long to get one, you could find yourself stuck in a long processing backlog. So take a look at your license right now. If it doesn't have a star in the top right corner, you'll need to upgrade it before the deadline. If you're finding these updates helpful, hit that like button. It helps more travelers stay informed about these important changes. Now, let's talk about another major change: why flight prices are expected to skyrocket in 2025. New data shows that airfare will skyrocket during peak travel seasons, including spring break, March and April, summer, June to August, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. But here's the real problem. Airlines are now using AI-powered dynamic pricing, meaning that if you book too close to your departure date, you could pay hundreds of dollars more for the same flight. And this pricing system isn't just for last-minute flights. Some airlines are experimenting with demand-based ticketing, where prices change even based on how many times you check a flight. So if you're planning a trip this year, booking early is more important than ever. Number 5. Airport security is changing, and not everyone is happy about it. Many major airports are rolling out facial recognition, AI-powered body scanners, and fingerprint ID systems as a way to speed up the check-in process. The good news? These systems could make airport security lines much faster. But the bad news? Some travelers are raising concerns about privacy. In the US, airports are rapidly expanding facial recognition, with TSA pre-check users already seeing it in certain locations. Meanwhile, some European airports are testing AI behavior tracking, analyzing your movements before you even reach the checkpoint. Whether you love it or hate it, biometric screening is becoming the new normal. Number 6. Southwest Airlines is making a major change to its baggage policy. For decades, Southwest was known for its 2 free checked bags policy, but in 2025, that's coming to an end. This means that millions of travelers who relied on Southwest to avoid baggage fees will now have to pay extra. The exact pricing hasn't been finalized, but one thing is clear: budget travelers will need to rethink their packing strategies. Number 7. The 100 milliliter liquid rule is not going away. For years, travelers were expecting airports to relax liquid restrictions, allowing full-size toiletries and carry-ons, but those plans canceled. Originally, European airports were set to remove the 100 milliliter limit in favor of advanced 3D scanning technology that would allow passengers to carry larger bottles of liquids through security. But due to technical delays and security concerns, the policy is staying in place for the foreseeable future. So if you were hoping to bring full-size shampoo or sunscreen in your carry-on, you're still going to have to check your bags or buy them after security. And to make matters worse, some airports are tightening their security screening rules even further, meaning you might have to take out more items when going through checkpoints. So for now, the 100 milliliter rule stays. Number 8. New refund rules are changing how airlines handle flight delays and cancellations. In 2025, airlines are required to automatically refund passengers if their flight is delayed by more than 3 hours or canceled altogether. Previously, getting a refund meant fighting with customer service, but now, airlines must process refunds automatically. Sounds great, right? Well, here's the catch. Some airlines are already looking for loopholes. Instead of offering a cash refund, they may try to push travel vouchers or flight credits that expire quickly. If this happens to you, don't accept it. US and EU laws state that you're entitled to a full cash refund, not just credit for a future flight. So, if you ever find yourself stuck at the airport due to a delay, don't just accept the first thing they offer, insist on getting your money back. Number 9. Travel is getting more expensive in 2025, and not just because of flights. Several of the world's most popular destinations are raising their tourist taxes, meaning you'll pay more just to visit. Here's where travelers will feel it the most. Bali now charges a mandatory $10 entry fee per traveler, even if you're only staying for a few days. Venice is introducing a new day tripper tax for visitors who aren't staying overnight. Amsterdam has raised its hotel tax, making it one of the highest in Europe. These taxes are designed to control over-tourism and fund local infrastructure, but for travelers, it just means another expense to plan for. So, before booking your next trip, double-check if your destination has new tourist fees. You might need to budget extra. And finally, number 10, some of the world's most visited cities are cracking down on tourists. In 2025, several destinations are introducing new rules to limit the number of visitors they allow each day. The biggest changes are happening in Venice, banning large tour groups and restricting cruise ships from docking near the city center. Amsterdam, tightening rules on short-term rentals and discouraging mass tourism. The Galapagos Islands, introducing strict daily visitor caps to protect the environment. For travelers, this means you may need to book your trip earlier than usual, or risk getting locked out of popular sites. If these trends continue, we could see more cities adding visitor limits in the coming years. So, if you've been dreaming of visiting places like Venice, Amsterdam, or Santorini, you might not want to wait too long. Which of these travel changes surprised you the most? Let me know in the comments. And if you want to stay updated on even more travel changes, make sure to subscribe. Plus, if you're wondering where to travel in 2025, check out my next video here. Safe travels in 2025.